Cultures never remain static. One of the things we always must remember, changes are very difficult for people. But when we move into a different countries, when we go into an adopted homeland, we got to understand that there are cultures of other countries that we may find attractive.
England is a place where so many different people have come. If you go to schools, if you go anywhere, every fifth person is from a different country. So if we do not show our cultural heritage, the rich cultural heritage, you don't gain respect sometimes.
Very good for your culture. Break down the racism, yeah, and get to know each other, because when you don't know each other and you see people, you start to think to yourself, say, well, then you're a bit weary of them, you know, I mean, and it look different, so it can look a bit frightening. When you speak to people, then you get to know someone. You know, so cultural mixture is very, very important, I think.
It is important in this country that young people, when they grow up in their educational system, they are shown the best of Tagore, because that is something which they would appreciate. And indirectly, it will also help in them appreciating the people of India.
Especially the world we're living in today, with globalization, the world is getting so small. I think the earlier we learn about each other means their lifestyle, their culture, their history, their literature, the better for us all.
There will be fusion of culture. It has already demonstrated itself in this country. Fusion of food, for example, fusion of art, fusion of literature, fusion of dress, all these things coming about. That's not a bad thing, but most important is never ever forget how this fusion actually happened, and that it is for the good, not for the bad.
It is unity in diversity, and I think it is very important that every school children know what the other person, the next person who is from a different country has brought in.
When you know each other, you go on well. When we sit together, we eat together, we do everything together, then why not to know each other's religion or faith or beliefs? I think it will create a very nice atmosphere in the world if it is done.
Now, citizenship is not simply getting a piece of paper and saying I'm British. It's much more than that. It's appreciating other people's cultures and values, but to bring that particular value to bear upon what you do in your particular life, putting more in a country in which you live rather than taking it for yourself, caring for our environment, caring for our all people, building stronger communities. These are some of the values that we have. Eradication of poverty throughout the world, making sure that people have better health and better education. These are the principles on which India was based. These are the principles which Tagore appreciated, and these are the programs we should be promoting as part of the citizenship concept in this country.
This documentary for the schools is an ideal way to get the word, or to get the story of Tagore, and to at least introduce people to him. After they've seen this, they can then choose, whether they decide to look more into it. I hope they do. I genuinely hope they do. Or whether they might, look at him in a later life.
Keeping the work of Tagore alive and making it accessible so it's enjoyed by people in Britain, not necessarily only of Asian background, but making it appealing and accessible to a wide audience is very enriching to our society.
There has been now a huge revival of Tagore in the West, which is wonderful because we're going to celebrate 150 years of his birthday next year.
You've got to document it, you've got to make it accessible. The message that needs to go out to that one person who's sitting in the park, you might ask, do you know who Tagore is? He or she might just not know who he or she is through the dance, through the expression, through the DVD.
Many Europeans who have never heard of it, they probably think, oh, this is an Indian thing, so okay, we might see it once and that's it. But to create an interest, and they will take it kind of passionately. I know many Europeans have done.
It is the Heritage Lottery Fund that we are at least making the film, and we believe we can take it forward.
It has already integrated, and if we keep it up, we can reach to the next generation. And yes, that way we should, and the only way to do it is to involve the younger people.
Everybody in every school, for example, there should be these sort of documentaries shown at various level of education.
Modern musicians, I think they actually need to use some of his words, his lyrics and his poetry to come up with new material, because actually, even though it's not really that backdated, but at the time it was futuristic, and it couldn't really apply so much then, but can be applied a lot more today.
Having like a cultural icon like Tagore in our history, it's like an obligation to make sure that our children have a knowledge and an awareness of that.
They do some Bangladeshi festival. Sometimes it happens in East London or in Regent's Park. It will be nice if they perform the dance.
So we must use it here as well, translating, I think, bits and pieces of Tagore's, not just dance dramas, but songs as well, poems as well. I think if we do that in bits and pieces.
There is a vacuum existing in many of the third and fourth generation of youngsters who are growing up here. They do not necessarily want to go back to India. They may want to go to different parts of the world on their holidays whenever they get time. And therefore we've got to remember that we have a responsibility to fill that particular vacuum. And that vacuum is being filled by offering them all that is good of our country. And therefore that educational process within which we can contribute is of a remarkable importance to this growing generation in this country. But the second and most important is, how do you focus attention? And your own example of your own organization, of which I'm a patron, was that we had one of your functions in the House of Lords, the highest authority in this country, in one of the most beautiful rooms in the House of Lords, at which hundreds of people came along to be able to understand what Tagore was all about. And to me, this is a way forward, and this is what we should be doing.
Our young people know more of Bob Marley and all the pop stars and all those, not so much of Tagore maybe. So it's up to us to bring Tagore's different facets out.
If other communities, maybe Indians or Africans or whatever, if they can learn or be made interested or offer the opportunities about Shakespeare, why not Tagore? Why not more aspects of Indian culture?
We should go up to the level where, I know individually we're doing it, but we cannot reach that level where it can be taken up, you see. So we need to approach the right people as well, whatever we have got to offer, and see that if we could persuade them to take it to bigger circles. But that means that we are the little groups who should carry on.
This is an important component of the numerous cultures, that you contribute to the great stream of many cultures, and at the same time maintain your heritage. It's like, if you have brought an inheritance, you don't throw it away. And culture is perhaps the most important inheritance we have.
We all know that we need grants and funds, etc. But what is most important, all of us who are working passionately to work for our culture and heritage, and also to keep the works of Tagore, we should all join hands together and work in such a way that we can sustain our culture and heritage, and legacy will go on. Please tell us about that.
I hate the camera. Am I gonna wait?